If you read the signs, then you'll know it says Del Casher. But this is me 143 years ago when I was 15 years old, but I have a very good plastic surgeon from Beverly Hills. And this is me with Les Paul 20 years later in 1873, just after Lincoln was assassinated. And, you know, don't believe anything that Les Paul said in that movie because I know everything about him that you'd want to know. But I want to say that, Robert, I thank you very much for making such a wonderful movie. And those people who are in that movie were all my friends, you know. I know Carl Verheyen. I know all the guys. I've worked with them. Actually, I was part of the wrecking crew in the 1960s. And how many of you people know why it was called the wrecking crew? Because, no, it was because we screwed up all the old men who were 50 years old and said, no, this is the way rock and roll should be, and they didn't know how to play it, so we know how to play it. I was 25 years old, invented the Wah Pedal, and I was working with old men that were 50. Oh, excuse me, I don't mean it. You're not 50, are you? You're not 50 yet. I'm not 50. No, you're not 50, okay. So anyway, that's why. So okay, go ahead.
No, you are rock and roll royalty.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know if they have any questions about the guitar. I can only say one thing, that what I really enjoyed about this movie was that everybody had this love affair, has the love affair with the guitar, and that was me. This is me when I was 15, and I said, I'd been playing the guitar for 2 years. I'm playing up the 12th fret. And I'm showing Les how to play How High the Moon correctly. I'm showing him how to shred. See, he's looking at me. So but really it was an honor for me to meet Les at that age, at the Chicago Theater. They were very, very wonderful. Mary Ford, his wife, took that picture on a camera I never heard of. It was called a Polaroid camera. I didn't know what it was. I lived in Hammond, Indiana, the hotbed for nobodies. I mean, no. There was nobody from Hammond, Indiana, except me. Anyway, Robert, why don't you go ahead?
You haven't asked me a question.
Well, Robert, was it fun making the movie?
At times.
At times. How do you like working with guitar players?
I liked many of them.
You like many of them?
Yeah. This was a labor of love. I realized that I had, over my career, which has been a long one in making films, that I had worked for almost everybody but myself. And having given the guitar up for about 30 years, I picked it up again about 10 years ago, and it all came flooding back. And I played for my dad, who was out visiting one Thanksgiving, and he said, you need to make a film about the electric guitar. And I said, Dad, finally a good idea. What I didn't know was that it was going to take 7 years to make, and 2.5 of those years were clearing clips and audio tracks. And had I known that, I might not have started.
You know, this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize. Part of my other career is I'm a post-production supervisor for motion pictures and television. And one of the things you have to know about is don't record the music unless you have the rights before you do it. And this is what happened with the Wrecking Crew film. That featured Tommy Tedesco, one of my great friends that was a studio player and worked on all the Sinatra recording sessions. I worked on the Phil Spector's recording sessions. He was a killer producer. I got to tell you, what a great producer he was. And nobody got that one, so we'll just leave it go, okay? But anyway, no, he had a pistol really on the console, but I asked him what it was for, and he said, he said, I need protection. Well, Phil was only about 4'1". And he had stiletto heels that raised him up 1 inch higher. And he had a little bit of, I don't know anything about guns. All I know was it had something with a trigger on it. And I just said, okay. And so I'm tuning up my guitar, an acoustic guitar, and I had my Fender Strat alongside my Telecaster. And he comes running out and he says, what are you doing with that guitar? And I said, I'm tuning it up. He says, I don't want that acoustic guitar. I want a Telecaster guitar. And I said, no problem, no problem. Hey, you know, I put it away. I was ready to do it. Anyway, it was a lot of fun doing these sessions. One thing I want to mention about what Les said in the movie was that the guitar almost was going to go all to synthesizer. But let me just say that in the 1960s, the Hollywood, and when I say the recording industry on the West Coast, was on fire. I mean, when somebody said, "Can you do the record date for me?" What time is it? 9 o'clock. Does it mean 9 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock in the morning? And we would record to sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. The Beach Boys session would go to 4. Glenn Campbell played on those dates, and I got to tell you that we worked on these sessions, and on the average, before the synthesizer, this is the 1960s, we had an average of 3 to 4 guitar players. We were the synthesizers of the sound of the day. And I would sit there with 3 other great guitar players, and I would be sitting there, I'm playing one part, he's playing another part, he's playing another part, and every day it was a different guitar players that we would be sitting. And each one had to come up with a sound. Usually they'd give us a chord sheet and say, make up an arrangement, and that's what we do, make up an arrangement like on the spot. And so I got to tell you that the guitar was not dead at all. It was very alive, and we had wonderful sessions of getting sounds, except for one thing. When I was doing the Motown recording sessions, when they moved out to California, they were doing, the Motown, for you who don't know, Motown was a black album recording. Did you know that, Robert? They were black.
I had heard that. Yeah.
And so when they came out here,
I did a white act.
When they came out here, they had all white musicians, except for Earl Palmer, who was wonderful black musician, drummer. And I would sit with 3 other white guitar players, and we're all playing for the Supremes or whatever. And I'm listening to the other guitar players, and I'm thinking, God, I just don't understand. These guitar players, they all sound the same, and they don't have the soul. In fact, I came into one recording session, and the black producer he says, "What do you think you're doing playing in the first chair of this part of this guitar?" And then Gene, our arranger, said, "Oh, no, Dell's cool. He knows he's got the soul for this whole thing. Don't worry about it." And at the end of the set, I played my ass off, because this guy really didn't. And so at the end of the session, as I'm walking out, the black producer says, "I'm sorry, what I said to you, you were great, and I said, "Thank you very much. I'm going to try to do something to help other white guitar players." So I invented the wah pedal to help white guitar players have soul.
And it really does.
And I just want to say, Robert, I'm looking forward to being nominated for White History Month.
Robert, let me ask you one question, because we are running a bit out of time. Is there any musician that you wanted to get into the documentary that you weren't able to get on?
Oh, yeah. I wanted Eric Clapton, of course.
Yeah, that was one that I felt was missing.
And for the whole 7 years, we tried to get him. And we tried to get him through his drummer. We tried to get him through his equipment manager, his guitar tuner, his guitar tech, his, you name it, his publicist, his record company, and we never got anything back. Wow. So there's a reference to him. It's kind of disappointing, but I actually think we got some equally good guitar players.
Robert, why didn't you call me? I have his phone. I have his cell phone number.
I didn't know you.
That's no excuse.
I sense a revision.
I called everyone else.
I know you did. You did. Robert really did a marvelous job. It was very entertaining, and I got to tell you, very informative. And I want to say that you, as a guitarist, how many guitars do you own?
7.
7? Only 7?
And I'm not worthy of even one.
No, it's not a matter of worthiness. It's a matter of quality, of enjoying life. That's what guitar is about.
That's true, but you have to move them from room to room from time to time.
That's okay.
I don't know how to play. I own 3.
Oh, it doesn't matter whether you know how to play. The matter is that the guitar is life. Mm-hmm. And I've got to tell you, I've been playing for, I hate to tell you, I've been playing guitar, I love to tell you, I've been playing guitar for 63 years, and there's not a day that I don't pick up the guitar once, every day, and say, gee, I never thought of that particular formation or that particular riff, or I've never played that before. Where the hell was I 60 years ago? I thought I know everything, and every day it's a new thing.
I call guitar players the world's largest unorganized religion, and I felt they needed some ministering, yes. So there you go.
Robert, we need you a nice round of applause for Robert for that.
All right.
It was hard to to sell to investors the fact that I wanted the guitar itself to be the star and the humans to be the supporting cast. And they never believed it was possible, but I think we proved it. I'm not sure, but I think we did.
Yeah.
I noticed Indiegogo roll call at the end of the credits. Can you tell us about your experience using Indiegogo?
Yeah, what happened and why it really took 7 years is that our original investor had to pull out because he had to go to own an NFL team. And that kind of changed his life in a very significant way. So we were kind of left wondering what to do next. We always knew we didn't have quite enough money to finish and to buy all those clearances for all those tunes. What we did is we went to Indiegogo thinking we'll at least be able to get closer to our goal, and it kind of worked. We didn't get as much as we needed. We didn't get as much as we needed to fix, but through the process, we came in contact with a benefactor in the Boston area, Ernie Bach Jr., who's somebody I grew up with. His father, Ernie Bach, was the Cal Worthington of the New England area. He was an innovator. He would jump out of trunks, he'd smash the window of Dodges, and he'd say, "Come on down." And Ernie's his son, who has a whole home. He owns 7 homes, and one of them is just for his guitar collection.
Wow.
So he was the right guy to bail us out, and he did, and that's and with the help of Indiegogo, we met him, and that's how we got it done.
That's fantastic. So the lesson there is put yourself out there. That's the only way you can make magic happen.
Exactly right. And sometimes it's hard to do that while you're making a living doing other things, because this would not have sustained for 7 years.
Right.
But I'm real happy it's over. Or, excuse me, finished.
Well, we're glad you made it. It's a fantastic
Thank
film.
you.
Thank you. And thank you all for attending New Media Film Festival.